For most of modern history, humanity believed its family tree was simple, clean, predictable. There was us, Homo sapiens, standing at the top, and before us a short ladder of primitive ancestors who slowly faded away as intelligence, culture, and technology improved. Neanderthals were treated as the final footnote, the last failed cousin before modern humans took over the world. Everyone else, if they were mentioned at all, was framed as a dead end, an evolutionary mistake, a rehearsal before the real performance began. That story felt comforting. It placed us at the center. It suggested progress was inevitable. It implied we were alone because we were better. That story is now completely wrong. Because buried inside fragments of ancient DNA, pulled not from grand skeletons or famous skulls, but from caves, shattered bones, teeth worn flat by ancient diets, and even frozen soil that never preserved a body at all, scientists have uncovered evidence of a lost human species. Not one we merely encountered in passing, not one we outcompeted and erased, but one we lived beside, shared landscapes with, interbred with, relied on, and ultimately absorbed. A human species whose blood still flows quietly through millions of people alive today. And the most disturbing part of all is not that they existed, it's that for tens of thousands of years, we didn't even know they were there. In 2010, a group of geneticists were studying material recovered from a remote cave in southern Siberia, a place known as Denisova Cave. The site itself had already yielded stone tools and traces of occupation, but nothing extraordinary. Among the sediment and debris was a tiny fragment of bone. It was unimpressive in every possible way, barely the size of a fingernail, no skull attached, no distinctive shape, no carvings, no markings, no artifacts nearby that could hint at culture or identity. Visually, it was useless. If this fragment had been found 10 or 20 years earlier, it would have been cataloged, boxed, and forgotten. But this time, something different happened. Instead of asking what it looked like, scientists asked what it contained. They extracted DNA. What came back should not have existed. The genetic sequence didn't match modern humans. That alone wasn't shocking. Neanderthal DNA had already been sequenced years earlier. But when they compared it to Neanderthals, it didn't match them either. It didn't fall anywhere on the known human family tree. It wasn't an ancestor, it wasn't a descendant, it wasn't a variation. It was something else entirely. This microscopic fragment of bone belonged to a human species that had never been identified before, not through fossils, not through tools, not through art, burials, or mythology, only through DNA. A species so invisible that without genetics, we would never have known it existed at all. They named them, after the cave, the Denisovans. At first, the discovery was treated cautiously, almost skeptically. One cave, one bone, one genome. Science does not like revolutions built on a single data point. Some researchers suspected contamination. Others argued it might be an unusual Neanderthal or a population we didn't understand yet. After all, how could an entire human species vanish so completely that it left behind no recognizable skeletons? But then something strange happened. As ancient DNA sequencing expanded across Eurasia, patterns began to emerge. Geneticists studying modern populations noticed fragments of DNA that simply didn't belong. Certain people, especially in Melanesia, Papua New Guinea, Australia, and parts of Southeast Asia, carried genetic markers that could not be explained by Neanderthal ancestry. These genes didn't originate in Africa. They weren't shared with Europeans or East Asians in the same way Neanderthal DNA was, and they didn't match anything from known Homo sapiens lineages. When compared to the Denisova genome, the match was undeniable. These people were carrying Denisovan DNA, which meant Denisovans were not rare. They were not isolated in one Siberian cave. They had once been widespread across Asia. They had lived in radically different environments, from frozen mountains to tropical forests, and at multiple points in deep time, they met our ancestors, not as enemies to be wiped out, but as humans close enough to form families. They had children together. Today, some populations carry up to 5% Denisovan DNA. 5% may sound small, but in evolutionary terms, it is enormous. That DNA is not random noise. It affects real biological traits, immune system responses shaped by ancient pathogens, metabolic pathways tuned to harsh climates, adaptations for cold, altitude, and survival under conditions modern humans initially struggled to endure. In Tibetans, one Denisovan-derived gene dramatically improves oxygen efficiency at extreme altitudes. Without it, life above the Tibetan plateau becomes dangerous, even fatal. This means modern Tibetans are not simply Homo sapiens who adapted on their own. They are beneficiaries of Denisovan survival strategies forged tens of thousands of years earlier, which forces a conclusion that is impossible to ignore. We did not replace Denisovans, we absorbed them. But as shocking as Denisovans were, ancient DNA soon revealed something even more unsettling. The human past was not a story of three species, sapiens, Neanderthals, and Denisovans, passing the torch from one to the next. It was a crowded, chaotic world filled with multiple human lineages living at the same time. Some left fossils, some left tools, some left art scratched into stone or painted onto cave walls, and some left nothing at all except genetic echoes. Geneticists began identifying what they called ghost populations, entire human groups that left no recognizable skeletons, no distinct tools, no clear archaeological signature. They vanished without names, without stories, without faces. The only proof they ever existed lies hidden inside living genomes. Entire branches of the human family tree erased from memory,
except for fragments still carried within us. Between roughly 300,000 and 40,000 years ago, Earth was not a planet ruled by a single human species. It was a shared world. Across Africa, Europe, Asia, and Southeast Asia lived Homo sapiens, Neanderthals, Denisovans, Homo floresiensis on isolated islands, Homo luzonensis in the Philippines, and unknown archaic humans whose identities we are still reconstructing. They hunted the same animals, used overlapping tool technologies, followed migrating herds, camped near the same rivers, sheltered in the same caves. Sometimes they competed for resources, sometimes they avoided each other entirely, and sometimes, inevitably, they formed bonds. Interbreeding was not rare, it was normal. Early theories tried to dismiss these encounters as accidents, brief, unsuccessful interactions that produced sterile offspring or disappeared quickly. Ancient DNA destroyed that idea completely. Every non-African human alive today carries Neanderthal DNA. Many carry Denisovan DNA. Some African populations carry genetic material from archaic humans who diverged from our lineage hundreds of thousands of years ago and then rejoined it later. This was not a single event. It happened again and again across thousands of years and thousands of miles. Which raises a deeply uncomfortable question. If these humans were so different from us, if they were truly separate species, why were they still compatible? Why could they form families? Why did their children survive? Why did their genes spread? The answer forces us to confront something we long avoided. They were not monsters. For decades, lost human species were portrayed as brutish, dim-witted, barely capable of thought. But that image collapses under evidence. Denisovans had large brains. Neanderthals buried their dead. Some made jewelry from shells and animal teeth. Some used pigments. Some may have spoken complex languages. Their tools were sophisticated. Their survival strategies were effective. They adapted to environments Homo sapiens initially could not. They weren't animals lurking in the shadows of progress. They were people, different people. So why did they disappear? This question haunts every ancient DNA lab on Earth. If Denisovans were widespread, adaptable, and capable of interbreeding, why don't we see them today as a distinct population? The answer isn't genocide. It isn't simple climate change. It isn't because Homo sapiens were inherently superior. It's something quieter, slower, almost invisible: assimilation. As Homo sapiens expanded, populations mixed, groups merged, boundaries blurred. Over thousands of years, Denisovan communities shrank, dissolved, and lost their separate identities. Their languages vanished, their cultures faded, their names were never written down, but their genes survived, passed quietly from parent to child. They didn't go extinct, they became part of us. Every human alive today is a mosaic. We are not pure Homo sapiens in the way textbooks once implied. We are the product of ancient meetings, shared fires, shared hunts, shared children, and shared survival. Inside your DNA are fragments of humans who hunted mammoths across frozen plains, survived ice ages that reshaped continents, lived in caves you will never see, and spoke languages that will never be heard again. They are gone as cultures, but not as people. And the story is far from finished. Ancient DNA science is still young. Every year, new techniques allow scientists to extract genetic material from places once thought impossible. DNA from cave soil with no bones. DNA from sediments compressed for tens of thousands of years. DNA from teeth fragments smaller than a grain of rice. DNA preserved in frozen permafrost, waiting beneath melting ice. Entire populations are being reconstructed without a single skeleton, which means there may be human species we haven't even named yet. Human history is not a straight line. It never was. It is a braided river, splitting and rejoining, erasing some paths while reinforcing others. Species diverged. They met again. They merged. They vanished. Not erased by violence alone, but by time, mixing, and memory loss. The lost human species we once shared the earth with never truly left. They are still here, in your blood, in your breath, in the way your body survives this world. We did not inherit the earth alone. We inherited it together.